On today's show, how should the Mavericks build a team this offseason around Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving? Do they have to draft a big? Do they have to trade for a wing? Vice versa? We'll talk about that and more, answering your questions on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show, making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Join the Raccoon Squad, be an everydayer, subscribe or follow for free. Just search Locked On Mavericks wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Comment below. Should the Mavericks do one of these two things? Trade for a big and draft a wing, or draft a wing and trade for a big? Let me know which one you think they should do. If you want to support the show, text us, get text alerts from us, participate in mailbags like the one we're doing today. Subscribe to our subtext. We appreciate each and every one of you. I've had great conversations with you guys on there. We've gotten non-Mavs questions, which we'll take on there too. So just text us. It goes straight to your phone. It's a super easy way to support the show and also have access to talk to us one-on-one and talk to us about any kind of Mavs questions you have. I've also answered the question, why will Christian Wood not come back, several times. So if you're interested in that and you want to know, I'll answer it again. I'll just keep sending it out. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com. The finals game one wonder, the one more thing king. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
Yeah, I mean, if I was Denver right now, I'd be worried.
Heat found something.
Highsmith, the Lakers found something with Rui, and I think Spo is trying to copy that, and it's a series.
The Nuggets were so good. The Nuggets offense wasn't even that great in this game. That's the thing that I keep coming back to with that game one, is that the Nuggets can go to another level offensively.
Jokic's just out there chilling, making passes. Somebody texted me, a friend of mine texted me during the game and said, watching this Denver team just shows you how far away Dallas is right now.
Yeah.
I was like, well, dang it.
And here's the thing that I've been on for a little bit is that they don't need to build a championship team right now. You just need to take a step. They need to take a step back. They need to take a step forward.
It needs to be a pretty dang big step.
But they need to just get back to the playoff. You're not expecting a ready-made championship team on the court, like ready this offseason.
You need to put together a roster that has the chance to make a run. Like you can't go into this camp saying, Luka, I know you want it's another year or so, and then we'll make a run. Like you just can't do that.
But you can go in saying, all right, we know we're going to make the playoffs with this roster. We'll have a chance to do something in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But you don't have to go into it with, all right, we're the Nuggets. We're ready. We're tested. Like we've been in playoff series before. We've been together for years, that kind of thing. We have multiple role players that can do the playoff
Dwight
things
Powell's
that
saying
you need.
We've been in playoffs years together.
They could, some of them have been, sure. Most of them are gone at this point. But anyway, we'll answer your questions today, starting with one that is about how do they build this team in the offseason that just has to get back to the playoffs and just give them a chance, basically. The question comes in, would you rather trade back for a wing and draft a big, or trade back for a big and draft a wing? We can take this multiple different ways. We can take it as trade for a big and draft. Do they have to do one or the other? What's the better option for the Mavericks? We'll just go through some of their options there.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do one of the other. I mean, basically what you're saying, because even when you text this to me, I was like, okay, I think I understand what it's saying.
It's a lot of words in it. It's like a lot of the same words.
Yeah, take the trade back part out of it.
Yeah.
Why don't you just say, if you could trade for a big and draft a wing, or trade for a wing and draft a big. And I think I would go the route of trading for the big and drafting the wing. And this is why I'm not in the camp of right now. I'm not fully in the camp of Lively at 10. It just, when you start looking at guys like that one, I got to see more than a pro day for the shot stuff. And I get it, you know, that he shot more in high school, all that stuff. But take that out of the equation. You're not going to ask Derek Lively to be your starting center next year. It typically takes more time, you know, a handful of years, a couple of years for these centers, you know, to have a real impact in the league. You know, the Walker Kesslers of the world, they don't come around that often. And even that, it's not like we're seeing Walker Kessler in the conference finals. So that's why I would go the route of trading for the big, drafting the wing, instead of vice versa.
Yeah, I think especially in just this class and the landscape of the NBA right now, if you're trading for a big, these are your options probably, right? Clint Capella, Miles Turner, Jarrett Allen, DeAndre Ayton, Brook Lopez for a sign and trade maybe. Like those are the ones that you're thinking about trading. You can sign, there's ones that you can sign that are lower level, Mason Plumlee, Cody Zeller, Thomas Bryant. If you're going to draft a big, it's kind of just Derek Lively for the Mavericks, right? I mean, you start looking down the list and you're like, all right, everybody else is kind of in the second round. There's not really another first round big that really stands out besides Victor Wembanyama that the Mavericks aren't getting. So those are your options. So I think just with that alone, it comes down to, all right, they should probably trade for the big. And to your point, bigs take a little bit longer. Look at, you know, Onyeka Okongwu, a guy that I brought up the other day. He hasn't started yet for the Hawks. It's taken him a couple years to get into it and to be who he really is. Nick Claxton still seems like a really young big. It's like, oh man, they could get a guy like that. This is his fourth year in the league. He's been in the league for a little while. It takes them a little while to learn like how, you know, NBA is run. Think about some of the bigs that have been drafted recently. Bagley. You think of James Wiseman. Like it just takes them a while to even become solid role players. DeAndre Ayton took him a little bit. He got there, but then now you're seeing his limitations still being a young big. And so I think I would go your route too. Trade for the big. And if you take go ahead.
You know, and that's what I say. If we actually did take it literal of what the person, you know, texted in, it was like, hey, if you trade back from 10 and get a big and then take a wing, you know, then you start looking at some of the wings around there. I really like Jordan Hawkins. I think Jordan Hawkins is the best shooter in the draft. Grady Dick right behind him. But I do like Jordan Hawkins. Don't start it again. And
the what was behind it?
No, stop. So like then you start doing the and or. I try to put some like combos together of like, would you rather have Clint Capella and Jordan Hawkins or DeAndre Hunter and Derek Lively?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And it's like in that scenario, I would take DeAndre Hunter and Derek Lively. It all depends on who the player is, right? So that it's very hard to do because I think DeAndre Hunter is a better player than Clint Capella, and then it's like Lively or Hawkins. You know, if you did like Valanciunas and Hawkins versus, I mean, New Orleans probably isn't trading Trey Murphy, but it's like Trey Murphy and Lively.
Yeah, right.
You know, Chris Boucher. Like, I think if you get a little closer to, you know, to where Dallas's pick is, you look at somebody like Toronto to where like a Cason Wallace is there, then it gets really interesting to where if it's like Chris Boucher and Cason Wallace, or let's say Gary Trent picked up his option, it's Gary Trent and Derek Lively. It's like, which of those combos would you have?
Ooh. And the other thing with the big is it comes to who's more ready right now and what's the bigger need for the Mavericks. I think the bigger pressing need right in front of them is a big. They need a big that is playable right now. Like, and do we know if Derek Lively is playable right away? No, and like we don't know that. He didn't put up big numbers with Duke, and we know that he has good tools and intangibles, and we'll do his draft profile coming up in a couple days, but like we don't know that. We know that some of these bigs are, and we think that the Mavericks have it. They have at least some wings. They have Josh Green, they have Tim Hardaway, they have Reggie Bullock, they have Maxey still as a 4. Like you have some serviceable guys to do that. The bigs are not serviceable anymore. Right?
And I like Lively.
Dwight Powell's a backup. JaVale McGee's a backup.
I like Lively a lot. I think 10's a reach, but if Dallas could trade back, pick up a guy, like if they could trade back with Atlanta and get DeAndre Hunter and then pick up Atlanta's 15 and walked away with DeAndre Hunter and Derek Lively, my gosh, like sign me up for that draft night. So I like it if they can move into the teens to get Lively and pick up a vet. That would be good. And
then if you draft a wing, that your options are probably Jarace Walker, Taylor Hendricks, Anthony Black, and then if you know we're hoping that one of those guys, if somebody jumps up, who's the player I saw? Who's the Belial? how do you say his last name? I haven't done any prep.
He plays with Victor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if he's going to get up close to 10, I think.
Yeah, Rylan Stiles retweeted a report today. He's Locked On Thunder host that he had a promise before the 14th pick to be drafted.
Oh, I believe it.
Who knows if that's smokescreen season or not, but he could bump up there. Then all of a sudden,
he's like 6'7", 7'3" wingspan.
Then one of those guys, Hendricks, Jarace Walker, or Anthony Black falls to the Mavericks. And then that's a good wing that you can play that we think hopefully one of those guys could be ready to play right away, or at least get some minutes. So yeah. I think that's your option just because of how the offseason is set up and what bigs are in today's NBA. Coming up, let's get into our next question, which is right now, give me your top 5 realistic picks for the Mavericks if they keep the 10th pick. We'll talk about that and more coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel is the number one sportsbook in America. It's also the number one sportsbook in our hearts. They have a no-sweat first bet up to $2,500. You can go get that right now. See what's available. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and see what's on there. Right now, they still have the Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama or the Field, available. Wembanyama minus 230. So if you put down $100 and Wembanyama wins, you get, if you put down, you have to pay 230 to win 100 on that. If you put down $100 and the Field wins, you get 172. So he's like the odds on favorite for that. All kinds of final stuff. Oh, after game 1, we've been tracking this, the finals odds. Denver, guess the spread for the series.
Minus 420.
It was minus 460 yesterday, and they won game 1.
Oh, minus 520.
It's minus 800.
Whoa!
They really jumped up there. Plus 550 for the Heat. So all kinds of good stuff. Check it out. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, making us part of your day, being part of the show, a Raccoon Squad card-carrying member, and everydayer. We appreciate you. Tomorrow's show, or Monday's show, we'll come back with Mavs rumors and talk about more stuff that the Dallas Mavericks will be doing. Let's get into some more questions, though. Next question comes in. If the Mavericks keep their pick, rank your top 5 realistic picks right now. So players we think should be in that range. Who are your top 5 right now?
We'll mark off the players that you're not including.
I'm not including Victor, Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson, Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore. That's probably it. I think Asar's probably around there. Jarace Walker, Hendricks, Anthony Black, right? So
you're not including Whitmore at all?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, he would be at the top of my list but I don't think he's going to be there. Yeah. So you include Asar with this. We haven't done our Thompson profiles yet. So I do want to add that.
All right, we'll take him out. We'll take him out because I really don't think he'll be there at 10. But
so for me, I have Jarace Walker as my number 1 out of those.
I do
have
too.
Jarace Walker. I think you probably have Hendricks next, but I have Anthony Black.
Yeah, we have those flipped. Yeah, I'm more on Hendricks than you are.
And then for me, this is probably going to surprise. I mean, are you including Dick?
I did not in this because I wouldn't pick him.
Oh, I think there's a world that I would take him at some point, but
okay.
But no, I didn't put him in. I put Jordan Hawkins right after that.
Wow. So so Jordan Hawkins is your 4th.
Yeah, and then Cason Wallace. No. Let me flip that. That's my fault.
Cason Wallace and then Jordan Hawkins 5th.
Yeah.
Okay, I did Cason Wallace 4th as well, and I did Derek Lively 5th. I haven't done Cason Wallace yet, but I've heard good things, and David Locke really wanted him in our mock draft and really went after him. Like he was celebrating beyond all that he got him.
I like him, and I mean we're gonna do a whole pod on it.
Yeah,
the back stuff does worry me a little bit. The some of the outside shooting stuff worries me a little bit, but he's a great defender. I mean, Rafael Barlow's all about him as a defender. I'm pretty sure he called him a mini Kawhi type. So yeah, and
he's 6'4", so he's 6'3.5" or 6'4", so it's not like he's that many of one. But the other thing I heard somebody say today, I don't know if it was Rafael or somebody, everybody always underrates the Kentucky guards. Yeah. They always, I think it was Raphael today. I was listening to Locked On NBA Big Board, and he said that they always get overdrafted or underdrafted where they should go because it seems like all of them. Look at Jamal Murray today, Devin Booker, like Tyrese Maxey, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Like you start throwing them out there, Malik Monk even. Like you start throwing them all out there, and they've all been good in the NBA. And so Cason Wallace, maybe
you could even keep
one.
going back and say like, I remember when Rondo came out.
Yeah,
and I remember being in Kentucky then, and Rondo, this skinny, taller point guard, and Rondo playing for Kentucky, and then he just like left for the draft, and everybody been like, dude, he's not ready for the NBA.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I know De'Aaron Fox went 5th in his draft, but he was better than Josh Jackson long term. So, but no, yeah, for me, I think when you look at something, this is basically kind of like a big board question, for this Mavs pick. You start looking at some of the like debates. I think you could have, like positional debates. If you're not including Whitmore in that, you could sit there and do the, Jarace Walker versus Taylor Hendricks. You could do the Anthony Black versus Cason Wallace. If you're looking at shooters, you could look at the Grady Dick versus Jordan Hawkins. To your point, there's really not another big through there, to compare to Lively and the, teens. But for me, I prefer Jarace Walker over Hendricks. For me, I prefer Anthony Black over Cason Wallace. And I feel like I'm probably in the minority of saying that I would take Anthony Black over Hendricks.
Wow. Explain that.
I love his feel for the game. I am in the camp of like Hendricks and Dallas would be awesome. Like it would be a great pick at 10. But there is a little bit of like, you got to be able to dribble a little bit. You got to be able to take some of this. Like if you could take some of the stuff that Grady Dick can do as far as like, the sidestep, take the shot, to be able to put the ball on the floor just a little bit, like kind of what Jarace Walker does. I worry a little bit about that with Hendricks. But I just, when it comes to Anthony Black, I love his feel for the game. I'm also in the camp of thinking that he's like right there as one of, if not the best wing defender in the draft, and a guy that you could have it, 6'6", 6'7", that can guard the opposing point guards in the league, that you can throw him in there with Luka and Kyrie. I get the shot, and we could talk about the shot all day, but I'm really high on Anthony Black. So
with all four of the top guys we have here, Jarace Walker, Taylor Hendricks, Anthony Black, Cason Wallace, there's going to be a really good defender that can go to the Mavericks at 10. So I think you're feeling good with I think you feel good with any of those four guys. If any of those four guys reaches the Mavericks, I think you're feeling good about it. We'll do our Cason Wallace profile next week, but I think you're feeling good if any of those guys reach you.
I'm really curious of, like we said a little bit ago, we're going to do our Thompson brother profile, but I mean, they'll probably be gone by Dallas. But if like Asar drops, I'm really curious to see where I'll put him. If it's a lock that I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll have him over, Jarace and those guys. Right. Or I'm curious to see if I will have one of those guys or one or two of those guys over Asar. We'll see though. They're just such extreme athletes. And I think the only thing that would go against them for Dallas's sake is I think it will take a little bit for them compared to like, I think a Jarace Walker could step in rookie season and like start for Indiana and play alongside Miles Turner and be great for them. I think an Anthony Black can play pretty early on. Hendricks can play a role early on. And, the Thompson brothers, they'll play early on too, but I just think that what Dallas is going to be asking for that spot, I think it might be a little too quick for them.
There's who we have top 5 right now for where the Mavericks are picking. We've done some profiles on them already. You can go check out some of those. So go look back through some episodes coming up. Let's answer some more of your questions, including what are the expectations the Mavericks do fulfill our offseason plans for the Mavericks and sign a center and get some wings. We'll do that. A bunch of rapid fire questions. We'll do that coming up. All right, Isaac Harris, we got some more rapid fire questions from you guys. Got them off of Subtext. Subscribe to our Subtext. Send us some text, and I'll answer all the ones that we didn't get to on the podcast sometime tomorrow or on Monday. Bobby asked this question. If the Mavericks do sign Kyrie, they bring Kyrie back, they get a starting center somehow, like we've been asking them to do. They get one or two wings somehow in a trade or a free agency, one or two wings being like a starting one and then like a Matisse Thybulle or a Crowder or somebody like that. They keep Josh Green, Maxey, and Reggie somehow.
Okay.
What are your expectations for that team now?
Conference finals.
That's what you expect.
Yep. If they do all of that, yes. Like if you sit there and like put names to it and said like if they re-sign Kyrie and then they get DeAndre Hunter and Miles Turner and Matisse, Tybalt, like
sure.
Yeah. Like if you're telling me they rolled out a starting lineup of Kyrie, Luka, Reggie Bullock, DeAndre Hunter, and Miles Turner, yes, conference finals has to, like, I think that has to be not like even the contracts alone at that. You got to be shooting for the conference finals at that point.
Yeah, and I think we got so down on the Luka Kyrie duo at the end of the season. I know I've underrated them in my head, just thinking like, oh, okay, well they got to get back, and I think they're going to be better. I think that duo is just going to be better than it was at the end of the season. There are so many different factors into it.
The only thing that would hold me back would be coaching. Like, it wouldn't even be the roster I would be like,
yeah, if they got those guys, yeah, if this was the roster, then yeah. It would be the way that I look at the Celtics right now. It's like, okay, you had the talent to get there. You had the talent to get to the finals. Like, it was finals or bust for that roster because you have the talent. Then what was it on? It's either on your star players, Tatum got the injury and Brown can't dribble with his left hand, or coaching. Like, and I don't think it'll be on the stars if it's the Mavericks, because I believe in Luka and we've seen Kyrie. Like, I believe in them to do that and to show up in big moments. So yeah.
And who did they say and keep? What was the three players again? Reggie, Josh,
Reggie, and Maxey.
Okay, so it's basically saying
Tim
using
goes.
using the 10th pick, Tim. Who am I missing?
The taxpayer mid-level, the signing in free agency.
Okay, so using the 10th pick and Tim to get the big. And then hoping that you can use an exception on getting one of those. I mean, realistically, if you want to do all of that, like getting a better wing in the starting lineup, getting a solidified starting big, you're probably going to have to give up. It's going to be like Tim 10 and Josh 2 or Maxey also, or Reggie 2, something like that.
Another question: which current NBA superstar or role player would best fit with Luka?
Oh gosh.
Let's do role player.
A role player. My goodness.
This is an easy one. Do you count Drew Holiday as a role player? He's like the best.
Yeah,
the best
I'm trying to
overqualified role player there is.
I feel like for years I said Clay and Drew.
Yeah.
But I want somebody a little younger now.
Does Marcus Smart count?
Yeah. I wouldn't say that I'm going down Victory Park guaranteeing
I was gonna say, you're not super sold on Marcus Smart anymore.
I like him a lot, and I think he'd be great in Dallas, but I am a little bit more. I mean, well, we're doing role players. I was gonna say Kevin Durant would be great.
Greatest role player. He wanted to be nicknamed the Servant, so he can be a role player.
Do you have another one?
No. Or I have many more questions.
I mean, because Jimmy Butler would be awesome. Does Mikal Bridges count as a star?
Not yet.
Because I think he would be my pick as the perfect.
That's a great one.
I would have said Jaylen Brown. He would be great next to Luka, but
he made all NBA though.
You think I'm in the minority of saying I would rather take Mikal Bridges over Jaylen Brown?
Not after the recency bias of the Eastern Conference Finals.
I think I would do it before even the finals.
Is it because of money?
And age?
Yeah.
And I like Mikal's defense better.
Another question. Is Josh Green ready to start at the 3 if Reggie is traded into a package this offseason for a starting 4 or a starting 5?
I'm the wrong person to ask because I was out on Josh last summer and he proved me wrong. And he had a stretch that I didn't think he had in him. And I was really impressed. I ate my crow. I admitted defeat. And then he kind of here's the thing with Josh.
Everybody fell off after that run though, to be fair.
But he never fully figured it out alongside Kyrie and Luka.
Yeah. And
what his role is and where to take his moments. And that's my hesitation with this. And that's where I'm I'm not fully confident that Josh is on the roster next year, but
My answer to this is he would have to take another leap similar to last season for me to feel really good about him starting at the 3. And I think defensively, he has to take a little step up, still shoot the ball as well as he did last year. And then, figure out the role. And I think that'll come with, it's probably the hardest on a guy like Josh Green, whose role is inconsistent on the team. Introduce a whole new entity in Kyrie Irving. Yeah. Coaching that we don't know if he had defined roles and things like that at that point. So that must have been really, really hard for Josh Green to try and figure out at the end of the season. So I'm hoping with that part we'll settle out, the roles and all that we'll settle out through the offseason. And then I think Josh Green will be, I expect Josh Green to be ready. I don't think he is by the end of the season what we saw, but I expect him to be next season, and then sometime during next season he'll rev up into it. I'm there. I believed in him.
Yeah, you did.
Okay. From a subtexter, somebody texted us. My wife Ivy wants to know why you think Reggie Bullock is a good wing for the Mavs after last season's performance.
Because I'll take the grand total of things based off the last portion of game. It's kind of like saying Reggie's not a good shooter and only watching him in October, November. It's like
he'd be the worst shooter in the NBA.
Give me his career percentages and all of that. I do think his defense took a little step backwards last year. But have you seen his island?
His island looks awesome. And I have an announcement. No, I'm just kidding. We're gonna do a show live from Bullock. That'd be amazing.
Flying us too.
Bullock did take a step back. I think the run to the final. I think the run to the Western Conference Finals took a toll on him coming into the season. I hope that a longer offseason will help him get back to where he needs to be. Role I think too affected him. The defense just being so bad and out of sorts all the time. I don't think.
But it's also the price. You're paying him $10 million.
Yeah.
I don't think you can really beat that. It's not like you're paying him, 20. Tim's making almost double the amount that Reggie is. So,
and we're also still talking about the Mavericks needing to add another good wing, right? We're not saying him and Josh are the answers at this point. All right,
he's a good pro. He can come off the bench. He can start. He can defend some of these good guys, good perimeter guys in the league. You just can't, have enough Reggies on your team.
Yep. Last one. Some people always want to ask questions like this. So I'm giving this one to them. What's the worst case scenario for the Mavs on draft night? There's always somebody that wants to know what's the worst thing. What's the bad thing that could happen?
They trade it in a package for Rudy Gobert.
That's the worst case. My worst case is
Brad Beal.
That's a good one. Worst case is they use the pick to just get off of Tim and Davis's salary for a fringe role player that you're ooh. They just dump them. They use the pick just to get off salary. And they're like, all right, we're gonna be more flexible. We'll figure it out, and then we can just tell that they're looking at this salary cap. They know they're gonna re-sign Kyrie, and it's just gonna be Luka and Kyrie for a ton of money, and then we don't know how we're going to fill out the rest of the roster, but they're trying to avoid tax dollars.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That's a bad one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's giving up the pick for nothing of just to like what Nick said. It's a little harder to do because in order to dump salary, you got to have a team that has a bunch of cap space right now.
Yeah.
I guess you can always announce it or whatever, and then it can't become official, or it will leak out and then it can't become official until the league year or whatever. But yeah, if it's hey, we're gonna dump Tim Hardaway and the 10th pick to San Antonio for some random player, that would be tough. That would be tough. It's either that or it's they take the big swing on, Rudy Gobert, Brad Beal, something like that. And they just say, screw it. We don't care. We just want
getting a third guy.
Big contract like that. Is there a prospect that you say they just I wouldn't be jumping for joy if they just stood pat, didn't do anything at 10. And then they just drafted you know, they went to Jaden Hardy. Like there's one of the things we haven't talked about is a couple of players being like the Jaden Hardy route of really highly ranked in high school. And now they're like not at the top of this class. Like you look at like a Nick Smith, you look at Gigi Jackson, you look at Imani Bates, you look at a couple of these guys that are the Jaden Hardy role of like highly ranked, but now they're going to slip some to where if Dallas like reached, if that's like, you know, Dallas's type now of like swinging for the big talent, and it's like pick 10 and Gigi Jackson. You're like, woof, man, we're really reaching there. But
taking a swing,
I mean, so that would be the worst case scenario. I think Nick's answer is the best one though, is just using it to dump salary. That would
that would be tough.
Plan powder, baby.
Oh my god, my skin just crawling when you said that. Now that we're leaving on a good note, we'll be back on Monday talking about Mavs rumors and more. Over the weekend, we'll see what comes out. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.